Thanks for listening to the MADExWEST Vlodcast. Please stay social at MXW Vlodcast on Twitter and MXW Vlodcast on Instagram. Do not forget, you can find us on our personal pages. I'm at Second Kings 4, and he's Made Fitness CT.
Find the full workouts and some behind-the-scene footage on YouTube. And remember, the full podcast can be found on iTunes and Spotify. All you got to do is search MADExWEST Vlodcast. That's MADExWEST Vlodcast.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the MADExWEST Vlodcast. This is Matt. This is not Anthony. We got a little special guest. This is my buddy, Tom Munck, my long-lost friend.
College.
We're back in the grind. Back in North Haven together. He's going to be co-hosting this episode. It's our first guest. And this man is a fitness professional, nutrition expert, top dog physical education, top dog health education, you name it. So, little background about my boy Tom. He is the owner of Thomas Munck Guidance Nutrition, and we're going to be posting his Instagram handles. You have a website too, right?
Yeah.
We're going to throw his website up there. In case you want to get in touch with him for any nutritional advice, he's also a good person to go to for some fitness or exercise advice, because when I first met you, you were that guy that had the meal prep,
Yep.
the protein shakes.
Long before social media.
The jacked arms, long before social media, that's for damn sure. He's a full-time physical education teacher, just like me, except you do.
So I teach secondary education at a technical high school here in Connecticut. I do school health and I do phys ed, and then I also am an adjunct professor at Gateway Community College.
Sick. You don't work with the techs like me, though.
Nah.
The young guns. That's what keeps me young.
Yeah.
You,
why I
you get all the drama.
I get stressed out. That's why I have no hair.
He holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in exercise science. We both went to undergrad together for exercise science. That's how we met. You want to kind of start with that?
Yeah,
How it all kind of came together? Back at the good old Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven, Connecticut. I'll let you dive in about how you and I met.
We had classes together. I believe it was...
Was it athletic training the first class we had together? Or was it with...
no, it was
phys ed
phys ed based. Yeah. So I believe we were in Rash's class.
Can we have a moment of silence for Rash?
So we had class together. And then I took a semester off because of regular gen ed academics I just didn't care about, and I was all about partying. So
Did I know that?
No one knew that.
Dude!
So
the party animal, it comes
so
out.
I ended up getting hit with a academic probation letter after first semester, and I decided that I couldn't do living at school anymore, so I moved home.
So how long were you there? A year or a semester?
So I was there a year and a half.
Year and a half, okay.
So I ended up, but it was right when we applied to get into the program. So we did our freshman year.
Yes.
And then we applied, got in, and then that's when I got hit with the academic probation letter. But it was a cluster of things. So like, I was in a relationship at the time. I didn't know it was toxic.
Yep.
It was
like that word, toxic.
It was the partying scene, the toxic relationship, little bit of freedom, like living on your own, because I lived with my best friend from high school, and we were like, oh, dude, like, you set up your classes freshman year, like, oh, Friday, 8 a.m. class, like, I'll make it, never went.
Nope.
So
those were the worst classes.
Those were the worst. So I ended up
Friday,
failed that one, like, straight F. Only F I ever got in my life was that class.
Okay.
So then after that, moved home, and then because I moved home, I was not kicked out of the program, but I didn't take a class, so they just sent me back, and I had to retake a class, and then I started the following years. So we had class together, and then we would always like see each other out, say what's up, but
yeah,
that was pretty much the gist.
Then after college, you and I used to run into each other in Milford.
Yeah.
Remember, we used to run at the grocery store a couple times. I ran into you. And then we lost touch. And now that I'm in North Haven, you're in North Haven.
Yeah, so lost touch. I mean, we both knew each other. We both knew that we were teaching phys ed. I remember we ran into each other a couple times at Kayford.
Yes.
And then it was always like, oh, where are you teaching? Like, how do you like it? Like, just quick hitters, because the way that these conferences work,
You always gotta move.
always have to move. So there's something every single like hour. There's a different program. So
Yeah.
we would be like, "Hey, bro, what's up? How's everything?" And then, like now with social media and everything, you kind of keep tabs on anybody you know.
Yeah.
And I saw that you were posting in North Haven.
Yep.
And then, like a creep, I slid into your DMs. And
Hey.
I was like, "Hey, bro, where do you live in North Haven?" And then coincidentally, like 4 houses down,
Dude, on the same street.
on the same
That's
street,
crazy.
nonetheless.
That's
So,
crazy.
Here we are.
Bang. And funny story, this is a side note. When I first started my fitness career as a group fitness trainer, I started 7 years ago at the Edge, and you were working at the Edge. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that's
You were at the
right.
front.
I was.
And I was teaching Insanity 7 years ago at
Did
the
I-
Milford location.
I worked there for 15 years.
That's crazy.
I just
That's
went back
crazy.
there yesterday for the first time in like 5 years.
But yeah, when I first started, the first gym I ever taught at, my boy was there. You were there for my first class, man. You were at the desk, remember?
Small
Is it still there?
Yeah, still there.
Even though the orange one's over there? Damn. So that's how we met. College. And now we're about 4 houses down. Crazy. Now, let's talk about... I want to talk mostly about like fitness and
All right.
some nutrition stuff, just because that's kind of what we do on the podcast here. So let's talk about how old you were when like you really got into fitness.
So
When you took it like serious.
So
and
it was
nonstop.
almost like a 2-spurt thing.
Okay.
So growing up, I had asthma, and back in the day,
I got asthma too.
in order to treat your asthma, they put you on cortisol steroids. So basically, the way that my childhood went, because I had such bad asthma, I gained a ton of weight. And then going into middle school, my grandma sent me a workout video from a PE teacher down in Florida that he made with his class.
No kidding.
Right? So like this is how I got into fitness and like was interested in PE. So I did that video religiously every day, 7 days a week. It was 45 minutes long. I dropped like 30 pounds, right?
Damn.
So I was like, all right, whatever. Like, got all that baby fat off, start middle school, and then transition into high school. I was that kid, and I mean, I've heard this story so many times. Like, I played basketball, I
Okay.
did soccer and stuff like that, but I would always get pissed off looking around and seeing kids, like, being lazy and lackadaisical during practice or, like, off-season and stuff like that. And here
Yeah.
I am, like, busting my ass. So my junior year, I quit playing basketball. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is stupid. Plus, I was turning 16. I wanted a car. The only way I could get a car
Gotta work.
was if I got a job.
Come on now.
So I ended up getting a job at the Edge in Milford when I was 15. They hired me
Damn.
under the table, and they said, all right, you're just going to literally walk around and pick up weights. That's all you're going to do. So I walked around. I picked up weights. I dusted. At the time, they had a towel service, so I would, like, bring dirty towels to the back. Like, looking back now, I was like, this is so unsanitary and, like, disgusting. But it got me a job. It got my foot in the door. And when I was there, I would literally just ask every trainer, like, what should I eat? What should I do? What should I do? And during my 15 years there, every trainer that came in, I would milk as much information out of them as I could. And that's what just got me interested in it. And then, like, YouTube started becoming popular, so
Yeah.
I'm watching videos on that. But it got to the point eventually where I would be looking at some of these trainers and hearing what they're saying to clients, and I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, it got to the point where I just had so much passion in it. I was like, all right, I want to find some type of outlet to do it. And I was like, okay, well, what could help me impact the most amount of people?
Yeah.
And then that just led me to teaching, because, I mean, we get 150 to 300 kids walking through our doors daily
Yeah.
at the gym. So
Yeah, for sure. So, would you say that, like, what got you into fitness? Would you say it was the fact that, you felt like you didn't feel good about yourself, like, because you put on the baby fat? Or?
if we're talking, like, I mean, typical high school kid, like, I wanted bigger arms, I wanted abs, and I wanted to impress the girls. Like, that was my MO.
Preach!
When I was in high school, was let me train arms every single day, let me hit chest every single day. So
300 push-ups a day.
So, like, when I wore a shirt, like, I looked like like my whole thing, like I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan.
Okay.
So like when the first one came out,
Vin
I thought
Diesel?
like Vin Diesel as Dom was like the biggest
man.
dude in the world.
He
And
was
I
big.
remember like the white V-neck, like the big arms, and sure enough, what did I buy? V-necks, and I trained arms every single day because I was like, I'm gonna be that kid at the party with like huge arms.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like that's what I did. That's what me and all my friends did. Like we would go to the gym, we would train arms and chest, and then we would go out. And like I can't lie and say that it didn't work.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? But then as you get older, you're like, okay, well, let me learn a little bit more about this, or let me learn about a little bit more about that. And I'm the type of person where if I'm interested in something, I'm gonna dive 100% into it. Like,
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I mean, even when we were in college, we were texting about this the other day. Like, I was that prototypical kid where I'm bringing Tupperware to class.
Yeah.
Like, I'm bringing the gallon of water to class. Like, even my wife, who I met at Southern.
Oh, did you? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So we had a school health class together. Coincidental, another loop. She was like, you would always be eating in class, and you always had a gallon of water. And like, she was like, it was the most annoying thing, but that's what set you apart from everybody else. And again, like, this was way before like social media was popular. I just did it because that's what I saw people do online. Like, you weren't hardcore unless you had your gallon of water and you had
And you meal prepped.
like your meal prep. So I mean,
Yeah.
I would be the only one in like the common room, like scooping out cans of tuna. Like, even though I had the pass the con haul, like I was still working to then spend my money at the grocery store and buy food and cook it there. So it was like such a waste of money at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what sparked all of it.
Gotcha. Now, how often would you say you work out?
4 to 5 days a week.
What would you say how often? I know you said in middle school you did it, 7 days a week?
Yeah, middle school. So when I first started in middle school, it was more like, looking back on it, it was more of the components of like the physical fitness gram. So it was like kind of like the pacer test that was more high intensity. So it was like push-ups, air squats, lunges, jumping jacks, things like that. Like prototypical stuff that you would find in your physical education classes at the younger level, just to get kids moving.
Sure.
And it's just an increase in activity. Like, I would still go out and play sports. Like, I would still play basketball, tennis, soccer, all those things. And then in high school, it was, let me train as much as my body can tolerate until it breaks, take a day off, and then go back to the gym. Or it was, okay, if I feel tired today, let me take 2 more scoops of pre-workout and see what happens.
So, like, what would it take for you to know, like, I can't do it today?
At that age, it would
What
either
was the
be...
sign?
The sign would be... Well, it was twofold. All right, because in high school, I was a huge partier.
Yep.
So, like, we would go out on, like, a Friday night, get
Rage out.
trashed, and then I would sleep all day the next day, and I'd be, like, so hungover, I would just go to work, and then I would go into, like, the break room and, like, turn the lights off. But then Sunday would come around when you start to feel a little bit better because you've been eating all day.
Yep.
And at the time, I didn't realize, like, what I was actually doing, like, putting nutrients back in my body, rehydrating, things like that.
Yeah.
But I would feel good on Sunday, and I would go train Sunday so I could have what I thought was still a pump on Monday when I went back to school.
Gotcha.
But I would say even then, it was like 5-6 times, like, religiously, like, 2 hours, not realizing, okay, what a proper working set is, like what a rest interval is that would actually be appropriate. It was just, let me do as many curls as I can.
Yeah.
And then when that starts to hurt, keep going and then switch to a different exercise and then come back and then go back. So it was very, like, your prototypical, like, meathead status without any rhyme or reason behind it.
And now, what would you say has changed for you? Like, you're looking... Like you said, you were just going training arms, all about the pump, trying to get as much in as possible. Long workouts, right? You said between hour and a half, 2 hour workouts. And now you do 4 to 5 days a week. How long would you say you work out now?
Probably 45 minutes, maybe hour 15.
So now why do you think you take that approach? Because clearly you're in the profession, so you know, just to share with the audience.
Well, I think the biggest difference and determinant for me was, like I said before, when I dive in, like, I go all in. So in order for me to take that next step from, like, weekend warrior, in college I competed twice.
I
in
remember.
natural bodybuilding shows. I got sponsored by a couple companies, so like I had to diet for photo shoots and things like that.
Yeah.
And the best thing I ever did was I hired people who were smarter than me, and I listened to their advice. And the first coach I ever had, he was out of East Haven, Connecticut. His name's Dean Correa, and I'm still friends with him to this day. He said, when you choose to work with someone, don't listen to any of the other noise that's outside of what we're doing. So if I tell you, okay, I want you to do the Stairmaster 6 days a week for 30 minutes, and then you see someone else doing like the bike for 30 minutes or doing interval training, don't question what we're doing, because we have certain variables in place based off of your nutrition and based off of the training that I have you doing.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times people get caught up in social media now, and they're like, oh, well, this person's doing that and this person's doing this, and then Orange Theory popped up, F45 popped up,
CrossFit.
like CrossFit popped up, there's weight training, there's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like you have all these different variables, and people are trying to stick their hand in every basket and then be like, okay, well, if I compile a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like I'll be able to burn fat, build muscle, like get my squat up 30 pounds. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you need to pick one route and stay with it. And that's what I tell all my clients. I say, when you come to me, what's your initial goal? Okay, your goal is to build muscle. Okay, so what do you need to build muscle? You need to be in a caloric surplus. You need to progressively overload in training. So we're not going to do HIIT. We're not going to do interval training. Like, we're going to do progressive overload strength training, where you may get a little pudgy, because in order to build muscle, you have to be in a caloric surplus.
Weight, yeah.
Like, you can't stay 8 to 10% and gain strength naturally unless you're taking stuff. And I'm not talking about like, hey, let's go to Vitamin Shop and buy some creatine. I'm talking about like the other side, like anabolic steroids and things like that. And then I also, so I worked with him for a few photo shoots, and then the online coaching scene became huge. And I met a guy named Austin Stout, who was just, is knowledgeable on everything from training, nutrition, like mindset, hormones, everything. And I worked with him for 3.5 years. Wow. And I mentored under him for about 1.5 years, and I soaked every part of information I could. But even during that time, I went to school for my master's. I took nutritional courses. Like, I paid for online websites to learn. I just never stopped learning. So I dove in, and then I just put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then that's what's allowed me to finally start coaching and feel confident. Because when I first started helping people, it was like friends and family, and then finally some guy was like, hey, I'll give you $50 to do my diet. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. Like, I just spent all this time learning all this stuff, and I never applied it or even made it applicable to anybody else.
Yeah.
Until a guy from the gym was like, hey, I'll give you $50. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And then he got in shape, and it was one thing that snowballed into another. And then I started helping people with bodybuilding shows, with powerlifting shows, general fitness, like
Nice, that's sick.
weight loss challenges, just stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's one of the big reasons why I want to get you on here too, is because I know that you've went through so many different phases.
Oh yeah,
since I've known you.
I mean, it's been what, we've known each other for like almost 10 years.
Yeah,
and I've probably done.
And like you said, the competitions.
Yeah.
And you were always at the gym, like I said, whether you were working or working out.
I was always.
You're always
it was
around people, networking.
From 15 to, I would say, 24. I worked full time at the gym, in college, when I was teaching, everything. So I was always there. So there was no question of where's Tom. It was, what time is Tom either out of work or what time is Tom done training?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So what would you say, like, do you have a fitness goal now?
Just overall health. I mean, I don't think I'll ever really lose that want to be strong, want to look good. It's more of a selfish endeavor at this point, where, okay, like, I still want to be that like 30 to 40-year-old and probably older. Like, when I take my shirt off, like, I still have a six-pack. Like, or like if I go to the store, like out to dinner, people be like, oh, like you can tell that guy works out.
Yeah.
Like I think
like
it
that.
also
We like that compliment.
like I think it also has to do with my profession being a physical educator and school health teacher. Like I'm a big believer in if I'm gonna talk the talk, I need to be able to walk the walk.
It's huge.
So like when I'm teaching high school kids and we're talking about weight training, or like we're doing the physical fitness gram and stuff like that, I want it to be like, all right, well, how many push-ups can you do? Or like, because I remember growing up, none of my phys ed teachers were in shape. Like it wasn't like I had overweight phys ed teachers, and I would be sitting there like, why the hell are you telling me to go run a mile and you're eating donuts and drinking coffee? And I'm like, this is stupid. Like you need to be running this with us. Like,
yeah, I agree, dude.
So I mean, it is definitely a selfish endeavor, but at the same time, being married, it's like I still want to be eye candy for my wife.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Or like when we start a family, like I remember being younger and my dad was always like a fit guy. He never trained, but like we would take trees down in the backyard and he would like lift like a 200-pound log like it was nothing.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wait, you just did what? Like I remember seeing that and I'm just like, all right, like when I have kids, like I want to be that dude where my kids are like,
They see it.
like they see it and then they run with it. Or even like for right now, like my nephews, like you taught my nephews coincidentally, and like if you ever ask them to like hit a pose, because like they've seen me hit poses before, like they'll stick both their arms up and like hit a pose. Or one summer I watched them for an extended period of time, and it was like every time I sat down and ate, like every 2 to 3 hours, they'd be like, all right, Uncle Tommy, like I'm gonna eat with you. Like granted, it was like gummy bears and snacks, but it was just instilling that like, okay, I want to eat.
Yeah.
So it's just like little things where if you can be that 1% of a difference of why someone changes their life, or have that 1% role of helping someone improve their life, like that to me is better than like me sitting here being like, oh, I think you can do it. Like, let me show you how you can do it and like what the benefits will be.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good point. And the funny thing is with kids too, because like you said, I taught. Shout out to Ryan. He's in first grade now, right?
Yep, first grade. MJ's in second.
Kids, being an elementary phys ed teacher, I'll do things that I'm not even trying to do intentionally, and I'll like look, and a kid is like mocking me, but they're not mocking me. They're just trying to do what I'm doing, because we have like, you know, they almost look up to you in a sense.
I mean, realistically, the way that I see it, and especially being a secondary education teacher, we have a bigger influence throughout, I don't want to say throughout their adolescence and their teenage years, but when you're in a school system and you see the kids multiple times a day for years on end, you become a role model to them. Like, especially too, like I work in an inner city, so a lot of them, unfortunately, don't have parents or guardians, or they only have one. But they may be absent from their life because they have 2 jobs to support them.
Sure.
So I joke around a lot with my students, but at the end of the day, I do that to create a level of comfort and to create a level of safety, where I've had kids come and cry to me about not having food, about not having clothes. And then you can take that to the extreme of like what happens outside of school, and they come to me and they tell me because they feel safe around me, or they come and I do an after school program. So my after school program started with 10 kids. On our last day last year, we had close to 35.
Wow.
And it's like, now you have 35 kids that are looking to better their life because of something that I'm providing, in terms of just making them feel good about themselves because they may not get it anywhere else. And it's the same thing with clients. When you show them a different way to do things, or you change their mental state of mind, it allows them to have this disattachment from their past or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And a ray of like positivity in their life.
For sure, man. I agree. So let's talk about your weekly regimen when it comes to, let's say, working out. You work out 4 to 5 days a week. Is it the same format every week? Is it the same, like, all right, Monday I'm doing back and buys, Tuesday I'm doing this, or does it change periodically?
So typically, based on my schedule, I do 2 on, 1 off. So I'll train 2 days a week, then I'll take a day off. And then I just pick it back up. So wherever workouts fall, they tend to fall. And like I said, I'm more into nutrition than I am training. So I keep it extremely basic, and I just go with progressive overload. I'll analyze like my physique and be like, okay, well, I want to get my legs bigger. Well, let me prioritize like squats, split squats, lunges, and things that feel comfortable for me. Where back in the day, I used to force exercises.
Yeah.
Even though I hated them, it was twofold, because it got me mentally stronger, because it allowed me to look at things of, okay, well, let me push through this and see what I can do. But at the same time, it was also causing an injury. So like I had a hip problem for a little bit, because I was doing, like I was using, I forget what I was using, like a certain machine, and every time I do it, I would feel like my hip after, and I'm just like, oh, whatever, like let me be hardcore, let me push through it. And then after seeing a chiropractor for a while, he's like, stop doing this. Like, it's causing you pain. Like, there's other ways to work around it. So now, like, I just keep it simple. I use exercises I can progressively overload on, meaning I can either add weight or reps each week, and I do things that don't cause injury. So, like, a lot of people hate doing, like, walking lunges, even though they're phenomenal. So when I say, like, I'm going to go for a walking lunge set, like, I'm talking anywhere from, like, 30 to 50 steps.
Yeah.
So, like, 15 to 20 each leg or more. And it's just, even though it sucks because it's a high amount of volume, like, it works for me. So I think having spent so much time in the gym and trial and error and then working with coaches, like, now I'm able to be like, okay, well, let me do this versus that. And then also too, like, as you get older, I mean, your priorities change.
For sure.
Like, we both own houses now. Like,
Yeah.
I have a wife. I try to be present after school for my students and, like, go to functions and things like that.
Sure.
Being on different committees outside of school.
Yep.
I can't always be so run down.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, is people try to burn the wick at both ends, and you can't.
No.
For as hard as you train, you need to recover even harder.
So what are your view on rest days when you're considering that?
Rest days, I think they should be programmed in, and then you also need to go off your body's biofeedback. So when I first started coaching, I would just tell people, I'm like, listen, like, just rest when you feel you need to rest. But now I make it almost mandatory that you take a minimum of 2 to 3 rest days per week, depending on their goal. Now, if someone is getting ready for, let's say, a bodybuilding show, there are going to be times when you do have to push the envelope. So you may not be weight training, but depending on how your composition is looking, we may have to push cardio. So I'm personally a fan of active rest days, where at one point of the day, you either go out for a 20 to 30 minute walk, get your heart rate elevated, get blood moving, things like that. Or if you are having cardio programmed, doing that program cardio, but then also making sure that, like, maybe you spend an extra 10 to 15 minutes stretching, or like take an Epsom salt bath, or do some foam rolling, things like that. I know it's back and forth with, like, does foam rolling work, does it not work? My suggestion is go off of what feels good. Again, so if, like, you do foam rolling and then you find you feel worse after,
Stop.
don't do it. Do static stretching.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also started doing a lot more research into what could help drive a parasympathetic stimulus, so your rest and digest. And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, go for a walk in the morning, do some grounding in the morning. So, like, what's nice is take your shoes off, actually walk on the ground without your shoes on, because it's going to help regulate your circadian rhythm as soon as you wake up first thing in the morning. And that's another thing, is sleep cycle is a whole different thing, but we can get into that. So I'll tell people to, like, go for a walk, do some active cardio, stretch, meditate. I have one individual who is a photographer. So I tell her, I'm like, listen, even though you do photography for a full-time living, you love to take photos. So go out on your rest days, just take photos, whatever you have to do, but don't make it work. Meaning, don't go home, look at all the proofs, and then be like, okay, well, I need to print this now, because you're gonna stress yourself out.
Yeah.
Whereas just go take pictures, enjoy it. A lot of my clients also were married, so I'll say, like, go for a walk with your dog and your husband or your wife, or just sit outside with your wife or your husband tonight and whatever, and just talk. Like, no phones, anything like that, and just be present. Because we get so caught up in everything that even if it's your rest day, if you have too much sympathetic stimulus to where you're in fight or flight mode all day, your heart rate's increased and things like that, you're not going to recover because you're still causing additional stressors on the body.
Wow, that's interesting as hell. That's crazy. That's a really good point. I like that a lot.
Because, too, so if you think about our society today, everything is in an instant, right? So you can get instant gratification going on Instagram, social media, stuff like that.
Or even if you have to research something,
So,
it's like, all right, you look it up,
you look
get the
it up.
answer like this.
So, exactly, like, if I look at the screen right now, there's Blu-rays coming from the screen. If you turn on your phone right now, there's Blu-rays coming from your phone. What that's going to do is it's going to stimulate what's called your sympathetic nervous system, so that's your fight or flight, and that's going to cause your CNS to get upregulated. So that's why you'll see it all the time, like, don't look at your phone an hour before bed. Why?
Yeah.
Because it upregulates your central nervous system. So, like, the best expression is, like, tired and wired. You know, when you want to go to bed and, like, you're tired, and then you're laying in bed and you keep tossing this way, tossing that way.
It's almost every night for your
like,
boy.
Looking at your phone, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, and then the next day you're just
Drained.
wiped out.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're drained? You have more caffeine, right?
This is starting to sound like me, bro.
So you have excess caffeine, and then eventually 1 cup doesn't do it. You need 2 cups because you're building up a tolerance.
Yeah.
So essentially what's going on is you're going to hit a limit. And once that limit happens, that's when, like, people start to, like, feel jittery and, like, get anxiety attacks and things like that. And it's just hard to calm down. And that's where, like, adaptogens and things like that can come in. But the best way to actually recover is getting adequate sleep. Because normally, people I come across that have digestion issues and things like that, it's you're not sleeping, you're having too much caffeine, your heart rate's elevated all the time, and then when you do eat, you shove food down so quickly that it doesn't get a chance to actually go through the natural process of digestion, and it just sits in your gut. And then what happens is you have malabsorption, and then you end up, like, shitting the majority of your food out instead of actually partitioning it and utilizing it.
This is why we got you on the podcast, man. We're talking about shitting. What's better than that? Nah, man,
It happens in life.
this is really, really good stuff. And I think a lot of people are going to appreciate it. I'm learning a shit ton of things right now. And the sad thing is a lot of the stuff that you just said, and I hate to admit this, but, like, it's kind of a victim of it.
Dude, everyone's a victim of it.
Kind of a victim. I'm realizing that, like, I'm not sleeping enough because I'm so busy. Like, by the time I get home Monday, I've been out the door since 7:30. I'm not getting home till 8:30. Now I'm eating dinner at 8:30.
Well, so
my body can't unwind.
Yeah, your body can't unwind. So something that I do with a lot of my clients is, and I bring this back to being in, like, elementary school, get yourself a planner.
I have one.
So get yourself a planner and plan in time to either rest and recover, or set a reminder on your phone. Like, anyone that has a iPhone, there's the little Half Moon app.
Yep.
So what that does is it down regulates the brightness on your screen.
Yes.
Because the brighter your screen is, the more Blu-rays there are.
Yes.
So essentially it turns it into sleep mode. So I turn, and I have my wife do it too because she sits in front of a computer. I do 2 things at night. So I turn on my sleep mode to come on an hour and a half before, like, I would typically go to bed, so the screen's not as bright. And then I bought a pair of blue light blocker glasses. You put them on as soon as it gets dark out. It starts to wind the body down, which will then bring up your serotonin levels, so it'll help you fall asleep faster.
What are they called?
Blue light blockers. You can get them on Amazon for, like, $10.
But you wear them do you wear them in bed?
Yeah. Like, you don't wear them while you sleep. Like, I'll literally
while
put
you're
them on.
unwinding.
Yeah. So, like, right now, it's, like, 6:18. So the sun will probably go down in, like, an hour and a half. So I'll just put them on as soon as it gets dark out. And then I'll wear them, like, even when I'm on my phone at the end of the night, like texting clients or doing work, it's not as bright, or from watching TV, it's not as bright, and it just helps like down-regulate the central nervous system. And you'll notice too, I tracked it with 2 things. So I kept my Fitbit on when I slept, and I would look at the quality of sleep between when I first started wearing them, and then I would like took them off a couple nights to see. So I would track it that way, and then you could also look at your resting heart rate in the morning.
Damn.
And then you can see heart rate variability variance.
And you think you sleep better since you got the glasses?
100%.
Damn.
And even my wife
Make the order on
and her
Amazon
best
right
friend.
now.
So the key though is you want to get like, they're almost like the video gamer glasses. Like you want to get the darkest orange you can find, because that will help block more at the end of the night. So if you're looking to get a pair to like wear when you're on the computer during the day, now they sell clear ones, or they sell like a yellow tinted one. And I recommend them to all my clients. My clients that bought them, dude, they pass out and they sleep like through the night. And then my clients that are like, oh, I have shitty sleep, I'm like, spend the $10.
Wow.
Like, and like I can get it. It's kind of like a weird purchase, but you're at
Sure.
home and no one's gonna see you.
That's a good point.
Like, so who cares?
Exactly. And to be honest, that's when I wear glasses, because I actually have contacts in right now. So if that's the case,
I tell people all the time, like my wife made fun of me when I first got him, and like I don't blame her. I would have made fun of me too if it was the other way around. But then I was passing out. Like
she
I'm
saw
talking,
the results.
Like I'm talking getting into bed and like not moving.
yeah.
And then she was like, oh, I can't sleep. So I was like, all right, try these one night. Try them another night. And then she's like, I think I want a pair.
Game changer.
And I was like, all right. So like I do like the real dark ones. Hers aren't as dark, but like she still sleeps better.
Wow.
So
I'm gonna have to look into that, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Tell me your favorite body weight exercise. Like if you had to recommend to somebody, like this is the best body weight exercise to get.
First thing I do with all of my high school students before they can actually touch a weight, they have to be able to do 10 to 15 pull-ups on their own, like wide grip pull-ups, and then push-ups.
Nice.
If
Pull-ups
we're-
are tough.
If we're talking like total body movement, burpees.
Yep.
If we're talking lower body, I'm going lunges all day.
Okay. Over the squat.
Over squat.
Nice. Tell me your favorite strength-based exercise. Now, I know that this is particular to like maybe the muscle group, but just overall, like for example, mine is the dumbbell snatch or any type of
If we're
snatch.
going just pure strength, like doesn't matter what you're contracting,
Yeah.
it would either be a squat or a deadlift.
Squat or deadlift.
Unless you're really good at weighted pull-ups.
Hey, I've done weighted pull-ups. I forget how. I think I only did like 50 pounds.
Yeah, but that's still a lot.
But yeah, I didn't use the plate. I used the dumbbell.
The
So you had to,
dumbbell,
like,
yeah.
Wrap your freaking
Yeah, yeah,
legs and hold. Oh my god, it was a pain in the
Well,
butt.
because then you also have to look at the center of gravity is different too with the kettlebell, because it's distributed differently at the bottom versus.
Yes, true. What's your favorite muscle group to work?
Now back in high school, arms all day. All day.
Yo, which way to the gym, bro?
Yeah.
Which way to the gym? Let's dive a little bit into the nutrition. One of the questions I'm really into is because you are you do guidance nutrition.
Yeah.
Which you actually do full time on top of a full time job, which means if you hit them up, at some point in that day you're gonna get a response.
Yeah.
Could be morning, afternoon, night. Could be multiple responses.
It'd probably be multiple responses.
Yeah, which is great while you got your sunglasses on.
Yeah.
But when did you get like fascinated with nutrition? Because when I first met you, you were super nutritious. But like, what made you say, you know what? I think this is the road that like I can really help and be an influence. on.
It was while I was competing. So the first time I competed and just seeing the changes from like, okay, well, if I bring my calories down, what can I do? And then if I bring my calories up, what I can do. And I think for me, nutrition always clicked better than like the training aspect. So I was just like, I want to learn as much as I can about it, and just dove in from there, read a few books. Then I was like, all right, let me read a few more. And then just like pieces of the puzzle started connecting and just stuck with it.
Any book that you would recommend for anyone interested in like diving into nutrition?
It really depends. The first book I ever read was Nancy Clark's The Guidelines to Sports Nutrition. I think that's the name. And that was a very basic, like, protein does this, carbs do that, fat does this. You want to eat this before you train because this is slower digesting. You don't want to eat this before you train because of that. But one of my good friends, John Gorman, who is a full-time physique coach, and I mean, this guy is phenomenal, has 3 books.
Wow.
They're basic, but they go into detail about everything. So anyone who's looking to learn more about nutrition, they all sell on Amazon for under $15. They're like $10 to $15. And they're phenomenal. And he's got DVDs, all stuff like that. The best thing I would suggest is either his 3 books or, I mean, just go to any Barnes & Noble and pick up a basic nutrition book. I would say start with basic nutrition. There are a lot of fad diet books out there.
Sure.
But the fad diet books are going to gear you towards a one-way street, where the basic nutrition books are going to venture out, so that way you can learn about all the different variables. If anybody has a question on a book, just DM me or send me an email, and I can give you my recommendations, because I probably have about like 10 to 15 books just sitting at my house that I could easily pull up. Except for that first book, that Nancy Clark book. I gave it to a student of mine, and I never got it back.
Hey, sounds like a student. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see all of Tom's links. We're going to link them all down on the screen. If you're not on YouTube, you can hit Tom up at Thomas, ThomasMunck, Thomas Munck 789. We'll also put that in the description on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff, so you guys can check out his Instagram. You can hit him up anytime. And what's the website?
Just thomasmunck.com.
thomasmunck.com. Let's get ready to wrap it up. Let's talk about, I got a couple more questions. Walk us through like a daily routine from when you wake up to when you go to bed, like on a typical day. Like, that you don't have to go into like too much depth, but like things that you would not forget to do.
So I'm big into routines.
Yep,
So I
so
wake
am I.
up same time every day.
Which is?
5:10. 5:10 and 5:30. So I set 2 alarms. First one's 5:10. I get up, brush my teeth. If depending on like what I'm trying to do in body composition wise, I'll check my weight. That's a whole nother topic we could get into about how this scale doesn't actually show the true picture.
Yeah.
So I'll check my weight. I write that down just for consistencies. Go downstairs. First thing I do in the morning, I'll have 8 to 10 ounces of water, and then I'll have a green supplement that my buddy Ben makes. It's like the most complete one on the market, which I could answer any questions about supplements if people want to know.
Hit him up.
So I'll have that, some other vitamins and minerals just geared towards overall health based off of what my blood work had said that I should just make sure I'm aware of. And then from there, pack my food that I prepped the night before, throw it in my little cooler, go to work, get to work, answer client emails for about a half hour from the night before, and then do the school day. If it's a training day, I'll go right from work to the gym, go home, talk to my wife while I'm making food, and then we'll have dinner together, and do it all over again the next day.
Tell me the gym that you go to train.
So I go to Montanari Brothers Powerhouse right in North Haven.
Now, I've heard a lot about this gym.
Yeah, it's one of the like best gyms in terms of just like that typical gym atmosphere that doesn't have like group training. It doesn't have spin classes or anything like that. It is like
Straight up grunt work.
a straight up bodybuilders
Gym.
like playground. Like,
Did you feel intimidated when you first went there?
I loved it. The second I walked in, so the first time I went there was in college, and I loved every second of it. Like, I remember me and my buddy went there. We probably spent like 3 hours training legs, and I mean,
shit.
we used like every piece of equipment they had, and we completely trashed ourselves. And I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to come back and do it again tomorrow. And then I stopped going there once I moved home because I wasn't going to drive from Orange to North Haven, New Haven every day. So I would go like every once in a while. Like
Gotcha.
we would make it a point to go on like Christmas Eve because we were like, all right, let's go train legs every Christmas Eve and then go home and just eat. So like we made that like a yearly thing.
Nice.
And then once I met my wife and I moved to this area, I was like, this is 5 minutes from my house. Like, so it worked out in terms of convenience, and then it worked out in terms of I just love the atmosphere. And that for me is a huge thing. Like, I'm big off of comfort. Like, if I don't feel comfortable somewhere, I'm not going to produce my best results, which I think being able to work from home as a coach is awesome for me because I'm definitely an introvert where I never once personally trained someone in person. Like, I've never done it.
No kidding.
If I could go back and redo it, I would, because I feel like it would help my coaching a lot more. But I think I was able to skip that step because I was a teacher and I had to be able to differentiate to so many students.
Yeah.
I'm able to differentiate to so many different clients and their goals, which I think if someone's going to become an online coach, the best thing they can do is work as a personal trainer in person, because you need to learn to not only meet the needs of your client, but also learn how to properly talk to someone.
Yeah.
Because that, I feel like, is misconstrued a lot, because especially through email, your tone, the coloring that you use, exclamation points, things like that, can all be misconstrued.
For sure.
And it can completely destroy a coaching-client relationship.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of both. I started more personal, like one-on-one with them. But I've done the online thing. They're both good. But I like it more when you're with them, just because, like you said, you have that. They can almost feel your enthusiasm or your passion, and that can be motivating. Or, you know, you can, like, if I really believe in doing something, or if you're, like, really believing that they should do this, but they're a little hesitant, like you said, they may misconstrue that in the email. Rather, if you're there, they're going to be like, damn, like, I can really feel, like, how Tom really, like, it believes in this exercise or this movement or this type of training, and then that's kind of like motivating. Or now they kind of feel the trust. You know what I'm saying? But I've done the online thing too, and sometimes I'm like, you know what, I feel like I need to call my client so that they can hear the tone of my voice, because the email's not going to do it justice.
So like for me, what I think I've been most successful at is most of my clients have been with me for a minimum of a year. So I started coaching in 2016.
Nice.
And I still have that first client. The first one that was like, hey, can you do my diet for $50?
That guy, huh?
I still have him. And I mean, I don't really publicize my coaching services. Like, everything's based off of referrals, which for me, it's twofold. I don't want to be that guy that's always now accepting clients, because I feel like that gets played out. And it's like, if I'm always accepting clients, like, what's the matter with me? Like, what is the matter with my coaching? Like, am I that good where I can handle 100 people, or am I that bad where I don't have enough, or what's the reason people are leaving? You know, like, you should be able to retain clients. Like, I get it. People leave because of personal finance issues and things like that, or priorities pop up. But you should be able to maintain a client load for years.
No, I agree.
Like I said, like, I worked with 2 coaches. I worked with Dean for 3 years. I worked with Austin for 3.5 years. And I know at the drop of a dime, if I needed either of them, I could call them up and be like, hey, bro, like, I need you to help me out with this. Like, granted, I would have to pay whatever their service costs, but I know they would accept me because we've built that relationship. So it's not unlikely to either get multiple emails from me in the day if you're my client. It's not unlikely to have me on the phone, or me just asking about your life. So that's another thing I do, where when I send out my inquiry form, like, the first initial questions are based on your life and what's important to you, and it has nothing to do with fitness. It has nothing to do with nutrition, because I need to know what variables we're working with. And once I have that, I'll be like, okay, well, this is what I think, or hey, how was your daughter's dance recital? Like, how was your significant other's business trip that she went on that people tell me?
Personal connections.
Yeah, like personal connections. So that allows them to be like, oh my gosh, like he does trust me. Like, or
and you're listening.
Yeah, like I'm listening because I know all of these factors play a role in how the body's going to respond nutritionally. So if someone's stressed out because of work and I have no clue what they're doing for work, that's going to be the differential of, okay, well, am I going to reduce calories? Am I going to raise calories? Especially if they're in a fat loss phase. Let's say someone does manual labor. I can't bring their calories down so low that they can't do their work properly.
Yeah.
Because then it takes money out of their pocket. And even though they're paying me for a service, I still give a shit about them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Where, like, they're not a paycheck to me. Like, we do this on the side because we love it.
Of course.
I mean, if I never got offered that first $50, I'd still probably would have read all of those books. Like, gone to conferences, everything like that. Like,
yeah. No, I know you. You would definitely.
So, I mean, it's twofold. It's crazy because you get some people on social media that are completely extremists, and then you get some people on social media that are going to scrutinize everything, and it's tough to find a coach in the middle where, like, it's going to fit you.
Yeah.
Like, I got lucky, and I found 2 coaches that fit me, but I know some people that have gone through, like, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches, and then they find somebody that they mesh with, and it's like, they're like, oh, I feel like I wasted so much time.
Lost time, yeah.
But you're not, because you're learning about yourself, so that way you can present all of this data to the certain individual that you're choosing to work with. It's just like being in a relationship. Like, you have baggage, but if you're upfront with that baggage, it's a lot easier to handle it than it is to find out 3 years down the line and be like, oh shit. Like, now I gotta start over. Or like,
that's a good point.
Like, that's just how it is.
It
I mean,
is.
I've been there.
Yeah.
That's why I say it, so.
For sure. No, that's all good stuff, bro. I'm going to end with this because we've dabbed at this, but now I want to get your honest insight, your view on social media in the fitness industry now, because we did an episode on the social media aspect and the pros and cons, because don't get me wrong, they're all good things. But, like, there's a lot of negative things too. Body image, things like that, what people are trying to portray on their fitness page. Brands that people are promoting but don't even use themselves. It's just a paycheck to them, but they don't really use the product. And I know that you've dealt with sponsors.
Yeah.
I know that you have your own business, so you probably use that to promote. I see your stuff online, and you promote things, your fitness journey as well. Give me your view on social media in terms of the fitness industry and how people promote whatever they're promoting fitness-based.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think you are going to find people who are fully transparent, where you can connect with them and you know that they're legit. And I think with how much people post now in terms of on social media, on YouTube, having podcasts, you can tell who's fake and who's legit. Mm-hmm. And then I think that you're always, regardless, you're going to have like what I like to call the propaganda. Like, people who are in it for a quick buck, you can tell that they're not legit.
Yeah.
And I always just say, err on the side of caution. If you're ever looking to work with someone, ask them as many questions as you can possibly think. And I'm talking almost interview them. Because at the end of the day, yes, you're working with them, but they are working for you because you're paying them.
What about these people that have like these websites and they're like, oh, come do my training program, but it's not modified to you?
Well,
they want you to buy a program that's just set.
I think that comes down to the individual in their intellect. I mean, you and I could go to the store right now and I can say, I eat this, so you're going to eat this, right? But let's say, let me think of a better example. So before you asked me what my training program is, right? So I do 2 days on, 1 day off. It would be stupid for me to sit here and give that program to you if you came to me as a client when you prefer training a different style. So like I said before, when you are looking for a coach, you need to be able to interview them and see how well they differentiate. What are their non-negotiables? And if they're shoving product down your throat and not telling you why, or saying you can only eat this food and that food, or not giving you like different options, things like that,
Yeah.
I would always err on the side of caution. Now, every coach should have their own rhyme and reason for why they're doing things, but if they're not willing to tell you, there's too much going on in the background, from my opinion. So I've learned from my own experiences, from working with individuals, like, will a coach get annoyed if someone's constantly saying why? Yes, but all that stops when you build a level of trust. And I think that will come with a longer duration of time, but I also think people play it out where like, oh, I trust this guy because he says he's transparent on social media.
Yeah.
Well, I can sit here and say I'm transparent on social media all day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I am.
Yeah.
I mean, half the times when people post photos of themselves ripped, it's because they did a photo shoot 6 months ago and they saved all the proofs and they just upload it year round.
Love that you said that, bro.
I mean,
Love that you said
that's just how it is. Like, some of these people aren't shredded year round, and
No.
if they are, it's because of multiple variables. Like, they may have elite genetics. Like, they're probably either restrictive all year round.
I was gonna say that
because they may be getting paid for it.
Yep.
So that's another thing. Like, people paid to look a certain way.
For sure.
I don't get paid to look a certain way. I do it just out of sheer vanity.
Yeah.
But then also too, like, if we're talking like really in the fitness industry, like, drugs are a common theme, you know? So like, what are people taking? You may not know, and I'm hate to even bring that up, but I mean,
It's a fact.
it's a fact. Like, powders
There's
and
illegal stuff going on.
powders and pills will only do so much that oils and like orals will do better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's just ask questions. Don't be afraid to like slide into someone's DM and ask them a question, or be like, hey bro, what's your email? Or like, excuse me miss, what's your email? Like, I have a question for you. Like,
Yeah.
you mentioned X, Y, and Z. Can you tell me why you do it?
Funny is I've reached out to a couple of like legit trainers just to see if they would respond. I've DM'd them. This is like a little experiment that I've done. Multiple, like 5 or 6 decent. I'm not gonna drop any names.
Yeah.
But like legit trainers with the blue check.
Blue check means fucking nothing because you can pay for followers.
True. And they have a shit ton of followers. Some of them have been on TV. Who's been in articles or whatever. Not one response. Legit questions. It's not like I'm just looking to be like, oh hey, like what do you? Legit questions like, hey, if I'm interested in your services, what can I do to get in touch with you? Not a response.
It's also twofold, because you need to think, if you're doing it, how many other people are doing it, and at what point or what characteristics do they look for in a client. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have ignored you, but like, let's say I'm trying to compete in a bodybuilding show and I reach out to like a top coach in the game. Well, there's a likelihood he could look at my profile and be like, nah, just because like it's his name on the line. And
But no response?
But
Just to be like, you know what, I'm not taking any new clients right now.
it could be that, or it could just be, I mean, I know some coaches that do not check their DMs. If you, like, they just literally will post, if you're interested, email me. So if that's all over their social media network and then people are still trying to slide into their DM, they're like, okay, well, they couldn't take this simple direction of email me.
Yeah, see, they didn't have that on these pages.
So that's how I look at it. Like, I post, like, when someone DMs me, I'll be like, send whatever you just sent me to this email address. And I have it, like, saved in my phone, and I will literally just copy and paste the note saying, email me at this email address. Now, that's not to say that if someone shoots me a question, I won't answer it, because I will. Mm-hmm. But then I'll say, if you want to get more specific and you want to keep this conversation going, email me, because it's easier for me to keep things streamlined in a thread on email than it is on a DM inbox on social media, where let's say I post up a photo of like me and my wife on my story.
Yeah.
And people send like the
Responses.
emoji with the hearts. Like,
Yeah.
say 10 people do that. Okay, well, now there's 10 conversations in front of that conversation where I was just having with a potential client. Like, I'm not going to see it if they respond.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, oh, whatever, like, scroll through. But if you email me, then I have it on my phone, and then I have no excuse not to see it when I'm on my phone at work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or I'm on my phone at home, or I'm on my phone, like, when I'm doing client updates. Like, I see it, and I make a note, and then if it turns into something, boom, then I already have a file, and I have a thread to go back to and be like, okay, well, they said this initially, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Then you can start to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah.
But if it's a DM and it's a random question, and I know nothing about anything you're doing, then it's going to be impossible for me to give you any type of individualized answer other than just general specifics.
Yeah. So you know what? Maybe mine just got lost because I'm sure they get a lot of.
It very well could have, or I know some people just don't even do their own accounts. Like, look at celebrities; they don't do their own accounts.
Sure.
They have people that do it for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, unless there's dollar signs attached to it, because a lot of the times the coaching programs now, from some coaches I see, are spend $250 and then you'll get my inquiry form.
Yeah.
Like,
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I don't have $250 to gamble like that.
Not for that. Sorry, bro. Yo, you're our first guest, by the way. You're the man. This
Appreciate it.
was definitely one of the, it's going to be tough to top, bro. It's going to be tough to top. I think this is super beneficial. I'm hoping that everyone listened to the whole show. If you fast forward, that's fine. But listen, just make sure that, you just pick it up where we left off, wherever you finished, so that you don't miss this whole interview, because I learned so much just talking with you for the hour, bro. Honestly. I can't wait to keep talking, because we're about to go out and your wife's going to hate me because I'm just going to keep talking about fitness the whole time.
Nah, she won't.
I'm
She's
kidding.
used to it now.
So this is Tom Munck. He is the owner of Thomas Munck Guidance Nutrition, thomasmunck.com. You can hit him up here. This is going to be where his Instagram is if you're watching. If you're not watching, it's at Thomas Munck. That's ThomasMunck 789. Again, at Thomas Munck 789. thomasmunck.com.
I will say, if you do have a question, just send it on Instagram or Thomas at thomasmunck.com. I'll be honest, I haven't updated my website in months.
It's all right.
Just because I get more traffic through Instagram, and I literally just pay for the website so I could have the email address.
Yeah,
100%, to be honest.
When I used to have my website, it was the same thing. So, but now I don't have the website anymore because I'm not doing personal training. So, all right. Well, let's have a moment of silence for my boy Team West, Anthony, who cannot be here because he just didn't want to drive. Bastard.
I don't know.
He missed a great interview. He's going to regret it. I know
Do it
he's going to
again.
regret it. Yeah, we'll have to do part 2. That's all. We'll have to talk about the sleep. Maybe we'll get a workout in. I'm not coming to that gym, though. I ain't going to fit in over there.
Well,
They're going to be like, who's this little ass?
Hopefully my
scrawny-
garage gym will be set up by then.
Bang! We do it in my house, but you got to be like 5'5" to work out in my house.
I'm like 5'8", so maybe I can clear it.
All right. Any questions? Again, you can hit my boy Tom up, thomasmunck.com, at thomasmunck789. We are the MADExWEST VLODCAST. You can hit us up at MADExWEST at gmail.com. We got at Second Kings 4, who's not here today, but we're going to still throw him a shout out. I'm at Made Fitness CT. Feel free to comment if you're watching on YouTube. Like the video, please. That always helps us out. It's going to help us keep doing what we're doing. And again, if you have any questions for Tom, make sure you hit him up. Anyone that's interested in nutrition.
Or leave the questions on YouTube or
Yeah.
wherever, so that way we can just have them all in one thread and we can do a second Q&A.
Bang! That'd be good too if we did a Q&A one day. All right. We're going to go roll out. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Take care, guys.